What's up everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I wanted to do just a video of me going through my 2021 reading challenge on Goodreads. I actually have spent the afternoon trying to update all of my reviews on Goodreads because I fell behind in October and I have not looked at my 2021 reading challenge yet. I just put in the 2022 one, which my goal is to read 80 books, but we can go over even my past reading challenges and I'll tell you like some of my old ones and why I made 80 for this year. But let's just go ahead and get into it. Okay, so starting with previous reading challenges, if we go down to the bottom here, 2016 was like, I think I wanted to get into reading in that year, but I ended up not. But then the next year, I wanted to make the goal of reading 12 books. This was in 2017, and it was the first year that I was getting back into reading, you know, just from going to college and working all the time. So I made my goal for 12, and I ended up reading 58 books. And that's when I like started my book club on Facebook and really just, you know, tried to find friends that I could talk books with. Then in 2018, I made the goal of 75 and I ended up reading 76 books. So that was a really good goal and I hit that. In 2019, I went ahead and upped my goal to 100 because after hitting 75-ish books the year before that, I figured, you know, why not go for 100 and just make myself read more and more. So I ended up finishing out 2019 with 112 books, which I think has been the most that I've ever read. Yes, it has been. It's crazy. I can't believe I read that many. Then in 2020, you know, obviously we all know what 2020 was like. I had made my reading challenge for 100 books, but ended up only finishing that with 93. And then for just this past year, 2021, I had a goal of 60 books because I knew that I wouldn't be able to keep hitting that 100 mark, especially I work a full-time job, I have 2 YouTube channels, all that stuff. So I wanted to make it more realistic and not pressure myself into reading so much. So I made the goal for 60, but I ended up finishing out with 83 books, which I think has been really great. So the reason that I put 80 for my 2022 Goodreads goal is because I'm doing the Reading to Zero challenge, which is a challenge that I created back in like August, I think, of 2021. And it's so that way I can read all of the books that I currently own because I realized that I just had too many books and I was getting very overwhelmed with what to read. So I am reading as much as I can all of the books that I own, and I currently own 80 books. So starting 2022, I own 80 books. I figured a Goodreads goal of 80 would be perfect, especially since I did, you know, hit 83 in this past year, which I didn't know that. I knew I hit over my amount. I just didn't know exactly what the number was, but I figured I could definitely hit out 80 within a year. So I'm actually gonna go through and we're going to look at, because I'm pretty sure it tells you like how many pages that you've read, your smallest book that you've read, all that kind of stuff. So I'm gonna go ahead and click in. This is the first time I'm looking at it for 2021. Okay, so looking at my stats on Goodreads here, it looks like I had 3 1-star ratings because I don't do 1 stars very often because I usually DNF books. It looks like it was One Last Stop, The Loop, and Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Feeney. I mean, those are all bad books in my opinion. I read 25,244 pages. The longest book I read was After the Fire. That was 464 pages. And the shortest book I read was Evidence of the Affair by Taylor Jenkins Reid. That was only 86 pages because it was a novella. Okay, let's look at my year in books. So for 2021, I already told you about the pages that I read, the shortest and the longest book. The average book length that I read in 2021 was 304 pages. The most popular book I read was Where the Crawdads Sing, which the reason that I read it was because of so many people like raving about it and recommending it. And then it looks like the least popular book that I read was How to Cope with IVF, which that's totally understandable, especially because I think that one was even UK based, so probably even less people read it. My average rating for 2021 was 3.4. I think that's actually up from what it normally is. I believe that the last few years it's been maybe closer to like 3.2, I think. That's good. Maybe I'm, you know, getting nicer. My highest rated on Goodreads was When Thoughts and Prayers Aren't Enough, which is understandable because that is a true story about a victim of gun violence. It was very interesting, and I could see why it's like highly rated because it's very open, very honest, and that has a 4.5 average rating. My first review of the year was Member of the Family. I still love that book. I recommend it to everybody. It's a cult memoir about, well, Charles Manson, one of the girls that was part of the Charles Manson cult, but she did not commit any murders. But so great. I loved all of the 60s vibes in it. It says the last review of the year was the IVF graphic novel that I just read this month. I don't know if that's actually true or not because I wrote all my reviews today, but I did read that book in December, so I need to get better at keeping up with that stuff for next year. Next up, I'm gonna go through my to-read list, and we're going to look and see what books I don't wanna keep on my to-read anymore. So I do this every year, usually go through, and that way my like TBR doesn't get like super out of control and I take books off that I don't care about anymore. Oh, I forgot to go look at the DNFs for 2021. So I keep exclusive shelves for my DNFs so that way they go onto a different shelf and they're not counted in my read, or, you know, I don't have to totally delete them. I never review these books, but they're always there in case you want to see which books I DNF'd. So for this year, I DNF'd The Soulmate Equation by Christina Lauren, The Girl Next Door by Jack Ketchum, but I might go back to that one. The Drowning Kind by Jennifer McMahon. Spoiler Alert by Olivia Dade. The Only Good Indians by Stephen Graham Jones. The Lost Village by Camilla Sten. The Project by Courtney Summers, which I've read like 75% of that one. And Nothing But Black and Teeth by Cassandra Claw. So those were my DNFs. I had 8 DNFs, which it looks like that's actually less than other years. I had 9 DNFs in 2020 and 11 DNFs in 2019. So maybe I'm getting better. All right, it looks like on the want to read, I have 202 books, it looks like. And I'm not sure if I have everything from my physical shelf like actually on here, but since it's on my physical TBR, like it's obviously on my TBR. A lot of times I use Goodreads to keep track of books that I want to read in the future, but not necessarily like all of the books that I want to read forever and ever. So let's go ahead and start. Reminders of Him, Colleen Hoover, that's gonna be her new release. And I actually did pre-order it, so that will be coming here in January. So I guess I technically will have 81 books to read, but that's if I don't like DNF or unhaul any other books in the future. Leaving that one on there. Then we have Miseducated, My Journey. I don't exactly remember what this is about. Oh, this is a memoir about drug dealing, dropout. I'm gonna keep that on there. Okay, Real Food for Pregnancy. I actually own that book. I'm definitely gonna be reading that. DJ Palmer's My Wife is Missing. That's definitely coming out in 2022, I believe. And I will wanna read that in the future. The Black Friend on Being a Better White Person. I have that on my physical TBR. Definitely going to read that. The Rural Diaries. I wanna get this book after I'm done with my physical TBR. That's definitely like highly requested for me to read, but also I think I'm going to like it. Megan Golden's new book, Stay Awake. I do wanna try that out, so I'm leaving that on there. The Cabin, I'm reading that this month, hopefully. It's my buddy read for Patreon. Felix Ever After, even though, I don't know, I have like a mostly hate relationship with young adult books, but I think since that one's such important topics, I'm gonna leave that on there, even though I have been I've been trying to not pick up young adult books because they just are not it for me. Spilled Milk, I'm leaving that one on here because I'm going to be reading that in January. Nutrition and Physical Denigration. This is a like nonfiction health book. It's based off of the Weston A. Price Foundation, which is like a group foundation where they like to eat kind of how like their ancestors did, I guess if you want to say. So lots of like fermented foods, sourdough, like from, you know, animals from a pastured farm, that type of thing. I think I'm gonna leave that on there, even though it's probably gonna be way too sciencey for me. There's a memoir, My Daddy the Pedophile. I really like reading like memoirs about, you know, taboo subjects like that, just to, you know, see how that is. The Last Letter by Rebecca Yarros. We're taking that off. I don't care about that one anymore. I've really gotten to know within this year that I don't enjoy romances very much. So I am being very picky and choosy with like which romances I'm keeping, which romances I want to read, because I just don't like it very much. You Have the Right to Remain Fat. I do have that on my physical TBR. A Little Life, I also have on my physical TBR. I'm taking off this Ellen Hopkins Identical because it's a young adult book. Don't really care about it. Next up, we have Jennifer McMahon's new book coming out in 2022, The Children on the Hill. Gonna leave that on there. Fangirl, the manga, I think I'm gonna take off because my library doesn't have it. I'm not super interested in reading it because I've already read the actual book, so I'm taking that off of there. Then we have Stranded by Sarah Goodwin. I need to read what this is about because I do not remember. Ooh, 8 Strangers, One Island, A Secret You'd Like to Keep. I'm gonna keep that on there, that sounds good. The Big Hurt, a memoir. Let's see what this is about. A memory of growing up in a fractured literary family, being seduced by a teacher, kicked out of boarding school, and then doing it all over again in middle age. We're gonna keep that, that sounds good. Book Love, taking that off. I'm pretty sure I already read it, but it was such a tiny book. I mean, who even cares if I like have it on there as like read or not. Okay, next up, These Silent Woods. I know that I added this because I really, really love the cover of it. I mean, the cover is absolutely beautiful. No electricity, no family, no connection to the outside world. Already sold. Isolation in a Remote Cabin, keeping that on there. Somebody to Love, The Life and Death and Legacy of Freddie Mercury. I did want to read, after I read Elton John's memoir, I wanted to actually read some like Freddie Mercury memoirs, but obviously he didn't get to like write his before he died, so other people wrote for him. I'm pretty sure that's one that got recommended to me. The How and the Why, I own that book, it's on my physical TBR. Call Me Tuesday is also on my physical TBR. Deep Nutrition is another one of those like Weston A. Price books, so I'm gonna leave it on there because eventually I do want to get to reading that. I Have to Call Mama, A Grandmother's Story of 2 Siblings Rescued from Munchausen by Proxy. I'm gonna leave that on because I love Munchausen by Proxy. I just don't know where I'm gonna find that. Tears of the Silence is a, I think, true story about someone's growing up in like Amish or Mennonite, and I'm very intrigued about reading that because I grew up in Pennsylvania. Anxious People, totally taking that off. If anything, I'll try and watch the Netflix show, but I do not care about the book. The Golden Couple is the new Greer Hendricks book coming out in 2022. Leaving that on there. A lot of the most anticipated, I'm leaving on my list until I hear more things about them. I'm not probably reading them at all this year because I'm focusing on what I already own. Once I hear reports coming in, then I'll get to either take them off after I hear that they're bad or leave them on if I hear that they're good. Roommate, I'm leaving that on. I have that on my physical TBR. The 7 Principles for Making Marriage Work, I'm getting rid of that on my list because I actually unhauled it. I don't feel like it's necessary for me to read, so I'm getting rid of it. Okay, before and after, I actually have that on my current TBR. The Good Sister, someone said that I would really like it, so I'm gonna leave that on here for now. Porn by Carrie and Cole. I read that earlier this year, but this is probably a duplicate that got put on here, so I'm deleting that. All right, Fridge Love. Organize your refrigerator for a healthier, happier life. That sounds right up my alley. If I can find it at the library, I definitely want to read it. A lot of those like nonfiction type books, I do like getting from the library instead of just buying them because it's like a quick, easy read, you know, organize and go. Deep Work, I don't think I'm interested in that one anymore. It was supposed to help you like be more focused, but I don't think I want to read that one. Okay, A Very Large Expanse of Sea. I currently have that on my TBR, like physical TBR, leaving that on there. Southern Storms by Brittany C. Cherry. I do like one of the Brittany C. Cherry books that I've read. I've been wanting to try it out more. I might leave that on there for now. False Witness by Karen Slaughter. I do like Karen Slaughter and I've heard a lot of good things about False Witness, so I'm gonna leave that on there, but I am gonna get rid of Hunger by Roxane Gay. I just don't think that, it's more of like a poetry memoir and I don't think I would like it. I Liked My Life. I'm getting rid of that one also. I don't have it anymore. Get Out of Your Head. I'm also getting rid of that one. I just unhauled it. All right, different position, a little bit more relaxed. Okay, we've got The Mother's Mistake. I have that on my physical TBR. I'm keeping that. The Perfect Getaway. I am leaving this on here. I read one Kirsten Modglin book earlier this year. Absolutely loved it. One of my favorites of the year. So I put a few others on here that I thought I would, you know, be interested in, and I'm going to keep those on here for when I actually start buying books again. Hidden Valley Road, Inside the Mind of an American Family. I believe I started listening to this on audio. I wasn't interested. I'm taking it off. Red Nation, I currently own that on my physical TBR. I'm leaving that on there. Loco Woman Missing. Everyone has been raving about that book, so I did add it to my want to read because in the future I am interested in reading it. There's Something About Sweetie. I'm taking that off. It's a young adult book, but I don't think I'm interested in reading it anymore. The Book of Cold Cases is actually Simone St. James' new book. It's coming out in 2022. I believe I tried reading both of her original books and they were just really like slow and atmospheric, and I never actually like got into them. So I think I'm gonna take that off. I can always add it back on once I hear people talking about it if like a lot of people like it, but I just don't really like slow and atmospheric books, so I feel like I'm not gonna like it. If the Shoe Fits, I believe that this is a plus-sized romance. I just don't really like romances or rom-coms very much. Yeah, it says graduated with a degree in shoe design. I'm gonna take that off. I'm not gonna read that. All right, next we have My Life with the Liars. I don't even remember what this is about. Oh, it's a cult book, I guess. It says, behind the whitewashed walls of the Arizona compound, life was simple. Follow the rules, live in the light, and all would be well. It's a middle grade cult book. I'll leave that on there because maybe one day I would read that. Okay, Insomnia. Oh, this is Sarah Pinborough's new 2022 release. I'll leave that on there because I might read that. I'm totally taking off Isn't It Bromantic? Even though I loved the Bromance Book Club, I only liked the first one and I didn't really like any of the others. All right, When I Was 10 by Fiona Cummins. This is a psychological thriller. A lot of people seem to like it. It has a pretty high rating. It looks like these children killed their parents. I'll leave that one on there. All right, The Perfect Father. Oh, this is a domestic thriller about like a pregnancy. I'll leave that on because those are some of my favorite tropes. When You Disappeared by John Mars. I currently have that on my physical TBR and I'll probably be reading it this month. I'm gonna take off Trish 6 Venom by Penelope Douglas. I just don't think I would like it very much. Best of Friends by Lucinda Berry. I'm leaving that on here because I own it and I like Lucinda Berry a lot. When Rabbit Howls. I don't remember what this is. Oh, this is about multiple personality disorder and it is a true story, but is it pretty old? Yeah, it's from 1990. I'm gonna take it off. I just don't see myself actually picking this one up. Okay, Breaking Free. This is about how someone escaped a polygamy cult. I'm leaving that on here. I currently physically own it and I cannot wait to read it. 9 Lives by Peter Swanson. That's his new one that comes out in 2022. I'm gonna leave it on because I really loved his last book. Greenwich Park. This is also coming out in 2022. It kind of reminds me of The Last Mrs. Parrish, it seems like, so I guess I'll keep it on and then hopefully I hear some things about it. Tears of Tess, taking that off, totally unhauled that. The Quiet Ones by Brandon Massey. This is like a cult thriller and I'm hoping to maybe read that in February if it wins a poll in Patreon. So I'm gonna keep that on because I have the physical book. Switching Time, a doctor's harrowing story of treating a woman with 17 personalities. I know that I was really interested in reading more about personality disorder, but I don't think I've heard very much about this one. Yeah, it looks like it doesn't have very good ratings on that one, so I'm gonna take that off. Okay, next up, Untamed by Glennon Doyle. I actually read her first memoir and I really loved it, so I'm excited to read this one. I just don't currently own it, and so it'll just have to wait probably for next year, but I'm gonna leave it on here. Bind, Torture, Kill is the story of the BTK serial killer. I think I'm gonna leave that on because I wanna read more true crime, which will probably be a goal for next year once I'm not reading off of my shelf anymore, but I'll leave that on. Dark Roads by Chevy Stevens, I currently own that, so I'm leaving that on. Every Single Lie, I'm gonna delete that. That looks like a young adult book that I don't care about. All right, The Secrets of Us is by Lucinda Berry. I'm keeping all my Lucinda Berry books to read until I find you. I believe I currently own that still on my shelf. It just has a different cover. The Mothers, I don't own that, and I believe I'm gonna take it off. One Thing You'd Save, I'm taking that off. I actually own that book, but it's more of like a children's book, so I have it like in my baby room, so it doesn't need to be on this list. All right, On the Rocks, I'm keeping as a romance still to try because it's a small town romance. The Witness Wore Red is about a polygamous cult, but I don't think I would like that one. I think I heard it's very like information heavy and research heavy and like lawyer heavy, so I'm taking that off. When She Returned by Lucinda Berry, I'm keeping that. I actually went and unhauled the Wendy Webb books that I have. One of them was Daughters of the Lake, so I'm gonna take that off. The other one, I forget, but it might be on here. Then we have All the Lovely Pieces. I'm leaving that on because it is a physical book that I own. Never Saw You Coming, totally taking that off. Okay, Can't Look Away. I don't even remember what this book is about. I don't know, it has a very long synopsis. Not very many people have read it, so I'm gonna take that off. All right, then we have Never Let You Go. That's a Chevy Stevens book, keeping that on, as well as That Night by Chevy Stevens. I actually own all of the physical books for those. Now this book I just added today, actually, this is called The Island, and I added it because it actually kind of sounds a lot like On the Island, which is one of my favorite books, so I'm keeping that on. Back to Delaware, I unhauled that, tried it out, didn't like it, getting rid of that. Hostage, I'm leaving that on because I currently own that. My Darling Husband by Kimberly Bell. I don't remember anything about this book. I think I'm gonna take this off because Kimberly Bell has kind of been like hit or miss for me. And it's just another domestic thriller. Secret Lies of Minnow Bly. I believe that this is a fiction cult book. I'm also gonna take that off because I believe it's also young adult. And I read some young adult cult books this year and did not like any of them. Okay, Pretty Little Wife, taking that off. I believe I owned it and unhauled it before, but I also didn't hear a lot of people liking it. Roxy by Neil Shusterman, also taking that off because I do not think I would like it. Perfect Son, I'm deleting because I'm also unhauling that book. I have had it on my shelf for forever and I just keep not actually being interested in it. Then The Last Thing He Told Me, that's on my physical shelf. I'm keeping that one on. Brother, I'm keeping on. Freddie Mercury, I'm gonna keep on. I'm actually gonna take off The Last House on Needless Street because I've just been hearing a lot of like mixed reviews and I don't think I would like it because of how like atmospheric it is and confusing some people have said. The Holiday by T.M. Logan, I think I'm gonna take that off too because I just haven't really heard much about it. Alex 6, I actually unhauled. I tried reading it and I hated the writing style, so taking that off. Falling by T.J. Newman, I'm leaving that on because I actually own that book. And Escape, I'm going to keep on because I don't own it, but a lot of people have told me that I would really like it because it's a cult book and an actual like memoir about it, so leaving that on. Crazy Stupid Bromance, taking that off. I unhauled it, and the same with All About Us, unhauled it, and One Day in December I'm taking off also because I think I found out that I just like don't really care about reading like Christmassy books during Christmas, so then I never read Christmas books and then they just stay on my shelf for forever. The Cellar by Natasha Preston, that's kind of a hard one because I really liked The Lost by Natasha Preston, but then this year I read, was it The Cabin or was it The Cellar? I don't know, it was one of, I'm taking it off. I don't think I care enough to read more young adult thrillers unless it's like by an author that I really love. So speaking of young adult thriller authors, Tiffany D. Jackson's White Smoke I really want to read because she is one of my favorite authors, so I'm leaving that on. Stolen Innocence, it's a nonfiction memoir about growing up in a polygamous cult. Totally keeping that on there because I really want to read it. Devil's Creek, I'm getting rid of. I think someone like recommended it to me, but I honestly don't think I would ever read it. That Chance, I'm also taking off because those like rom-com books. I don't know why, I just end up never really liking them. Lolita, I'm also gonna take off, even though I've heard it's like dark and crazy. It just was written so many years ago that I think that they even said the writing style is really weird, so I would not read it. His Favorite Wife, Trapped in Polygamy. I feel like I think I just went on like a polygamy rabbit hole one day on Goodreads and added a bunch, so I'm taking that off. I only really want to read the ones that are like pretty highly rated, so that way I'm not wasting my time and getting tired of it. There's the other Wendy Webb book, The Haunting of Bryn Wilder, taking that off. Date Night, I'm leaving on. I currently own that book. The less people know about us, this is a nonfiction book about your identity getting stolen. I'm leaving that on. I actually just got to haul that book in December. Never Knowing by Chevy Stevens, I currently own that. I'm keeping that on. The Wife, I also currently own. I'm keeping that on. There's another Freddie Mercury book. I'm leaving that on there because I can't remember which of those books people said were better than the other ones, so I'm gonna leave that on and maybe I can like get them out of library one day. For Your Own Good by Samantha Downing. I currently own that book, so I'm leaving that on. The Book of Accidents, I am taking off. It's way too big. I've heard mixed reviews about it. I don't think I would like it. The Paradox Hotel, I believe, yeah, this is coming out in 2022, but I think it's like very sci-fi-ish, and I tried to read a Rob Hart book before and I couldn't get into it, so I'm just gonna take it off, and if I hear good things about it, I can always put it back on. The Year We Disappeared, a father-daughter memoir. I don't even remember what that's about. Let's see. I don't think, I'm gonna take that off. It just seemed like a true crime type of book, but not anything like famous or popular. Okay, The Chosen One, this is a polygamy book. I currently own it. I'm keeping that on here. You Can't Catch Me, I'm taking that off. I don't own it or anything like that. Then Secrets in the Cellar, I'm also taking off. It just seems like a very old book. And 8 Perfect Hours, I tried to like listen to it a little bit, and nope, don't care about Christmas books. A Fractured Mind, I believe that I have this book, but the cover looks different, so I'm leaving that one on there because I own A Fractured Mind. The Winter People, I totally got rid of that, so take that off. The Girl in the Mirror, I'm taking that off because I don't remember anything about it. Headstrong, I've had this on my list for a few years. I'm gonna take it off because I don't think I'm actually gonna read it. It's just like a performance type of book, you know, how to work better, be more focused, that type of thing. One Day, I'm gonna take that off because I'm pretty sure I already watched the movie, or I was going to watch the movie, so then I don't even have to read the book. Fact of a Body, a Murder and a Memoir. Don't know what that is, I'm taking that off. This Might Hurt by Stephanie Robel, leaving that on because I really like Darling Rose Gold, and this is a anticipated read for this year. The New Husband by DJ Palmer, I currently own that on my physical TBR. Not Her Daughter, that one I physically own too, which I think is the one I was thinking about for one of the other ones I was talking about, so I'm gonna have to go back and make sure. Kill Creek, I'm taking off. I decided to unhaul it. I don't care about it anymore. The Next Wife, I'm leaving on. I currently own that book, and I'm taking off Love People Use Things because I'm just not interested in reading it. Even though I am like a minimalist, I feel like I don't need to read that book because I'm kind of like past that stage. Goodnight Beautiful, I currently own, and I'm excited to read it because I've heard good things about it. Sing You Home by Jodi Picoult, I own also on my physical TBR. Shattered Dreams, My Life as a Polygamous Wife, I'm gonna keep on. I don't own it, but it sounds really good. I'm taking off The Invisible Husband of Frick Island because to me, I have not heard anything about that, so taking it off. The Therapist by B.A. Paris. I'm sorry, I love Behind Closed Doors by B.A. Paris, but all the other books that I've read, I did not like, and I just do not care about the new releases. Okay, Size 12 Is Not Fat, that's on my physical TBR. I'm keeping it, as well as Keep Sweet. I own that too, keeping it. Black Widows, everyone has been telling me to read that. I'm leaving it on for next year. Fake It Till You Make It. I'm pretty sure that I unhauled that book, so. Then I'm keeping I'll Never Tell, it's on my TBR, like that I physically own. The same for The Perfect Wife. There's another Freddie Mercury book, so I'll leave that on here. Between the Lies, I'm pretty sure I got rid of that book, so I'm taking that off. I didn't like Running with Scissors, so I'm gonna take off his other book, A Wolf at the Table. Always Watching by Chevy Stevens, I own that book, so I'm keeping it on. Before the Fall, I own. All the Broken People. I don't remember what it's about. Hold on. I don't own it, but I believe it's on my wish list actually. I'm gonna take this off. I feel like it's not anything crazy or special. All right, Hidden Wives. I own that. It's on my physical TBR, as well as Lizzie's Story. The Wife Stalker and The Stranger in the Mirror. I actually read both of those books in 2021. I don't know if they just didn't make it in any of my reviews or if there were duplicates, so I'm gonna delete both of those. That would be funny if I actually read like 90 books of the year, but I like forgot some of them and I just didn't have them on there. Okay, With or Without You by Caroline Leavitt. I'm pretty sure I own this book, so I'm keeping that on here. No Bad Deed I own, so I'm keeping it on there as well. Living While Spending Less, I've been wanting to read for a really long time. I'm gonna keep that on there because I'm pretty sure it's at the library. The Polygamist Daughter, I'm also keeping on here. The Swap, I read that book. I don't know how it's on here again, but whatever. Deleting it. All right, this Cult Insanity, I believe I'm going to take that one off because I think that one was definitely like less popular than the other cult books that I've been wanting to read. Autumn, I own that one. I'm keeping that on here. Memory Lane, I'm taking off. It is a young adult book, I believe, and I don't care about it anymore. And then The Final Girl Support Group, I do not care to read that. A lot of people that have read it, like, I don't think that I would like it from like all the vibes that it has. Yes Daddy, I'm also gonna take off. I haven't heard good things about it. Last Girl Ghosted by Lisa Unger, I'm gonna take that off. I don't even care or know what it is. The Babysitter, I don't actually care about that one anymore. It was a non-fiction book and I believe I might have started it on audio and just didn't get into it. The Echo Wife, totally getting rid of that too because I heard not great things about it. The same for The Marriage Pass, I'm getting rid of that. Perfect Little World, pretty sure I definitely already read that. I don't know why it's on here. I'm gonna have to look at my reviews and see if I missed some of them. Mommy Dearest, I'm gonna take off. It's just like really old, and if you wanna know something about me, I don't watch old movies or read old books. There's just something about like, if it's before the 2000s, I don't like it. The Maidens, I unhauled. I don't care about that one. And I'm keeping Stranger in the Lake. The Taking of Annie Thorne, that's by CJ Tudor, and I haven't read any books by them. I'm gonna take it off because I don't actually care. Then Within These Walls, I am keeping, it's on my physical TBR. The Marriage Pack is also. Whisper Down the Lane. Oh, I think someone recommended this to me because it's like a horror, true crime based horror novel. I'm gonna keep it on. Mirrorland I do own, and The Nesting I own. So those are all on my TBR. The Perfect Family I'm gonna keep on here because I might like it if I ever get to read it. The Empty Nest I think I own, so I'm keeping that. The Half Sister by Sandy Jones I want to read in the future, I just don't own it, so I'm keeping that on here. To Be Honest, I'm taking off. Dietland I currently own, so I'm keeping that. The World in Flames, a black boy in a white supremacist doomsday cult. Leaving that because it sounds really good. The Third Wife by Lisa Jewell. I don't really care about Lisa Jewell for some reason. I feel like that's an unpopular opinion, but The Family Next Door, I'm gonna keep that because that one does sound interesting. I believe it is a true crime book. Survive the Night by Bradley Sager, I currently have on my physical TBR. I feel like it's gonna be on hold in the future. The Lonely Polygamist, I think I'm gonna take off because that one was definitely not as highly rated as the other ones, and the same with The Sister Wife, I'm gonna take off. A Beautiful Terrible Thing, I currently own that book, I'm leaving that on, but Megan Miranda's Such a Quiet Place, I am taking off my TBR. I feel like I don't really care about Megan Miranda. I haven't read any of her books, but none of them sound intriguing to me. Strange Children, I don't remember what this is about. Oh, Polygamous Commune in the Desert. 14-year-old boy and a 12-year-old girl fall in love and consummate that love breaking religious law. That sounds really good. I'm gonna keep that on here. Ready Player 2, I unhauled it because I heard bad things about it. I also don't think I care about Goblin. I've heard not so great things about that either. All right, The Guilt Trip by Sandy Jones. I've also not heard great things about that, so I'm gonna take it off. I can always put it back on if I get interested in it again. Then we have The Room by the Lake. Yeah, this is a cult book. I'm gonna leave that on there, that sounds good. The Real Lolita, I'm taking that off. Then we have Growing Up Amish, which I am interested in. That is a nonfiction book, like a memoir, I believe. Wonderland by Zoje Stage. I'm gonna take that off. It has a pretty low rating and I haven't heard anybody raving about it at all. And then last but not least, it looks like The Bridesmaids Union. I don't remember, but I just don't think I'm interested in it. It's just about like bridesmaid drama. Okay, if I look at my want to read, I now have 112 books, if I put my number correctly here. Or what, 113? Apparently it doesn't know how to count. It's actually 113 books. But let me take off that one that I thought was a different one. Till I Find You, that's what it was. I'm taking that off. So I do have 112 books on my Goodreads TBR for 2022. Some of those I do currently own, but some of the other ones are just gonna have to wait until next year in 2023 when I'm actually like buying more books, because I'm trying to focus on the ones that I actually have. All right, that is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed looking through my whole Goodreads TBR and seeing just my stats for 2021 and previous years, but also like my TBR for the next year or so. If you want me to do this every year, just let me know down in a comment so that way I know, but I will see you all very soon in another video. Bye everyone.
I'm kinda new with apologies. Holding back, I got history. Yeah, yeah. But the way you've been crossing the line, oh, it's something in me that says it's fine. Hoping you wouldn't change me. Got the same old thoughts, be my referee. I will be alright. Never cut it right.